What's going on, Jose? How you been? What's your week
Uh,
been like?
Um, don't act like you don't know because I see you every day.
I see you every day.
Yeah. Oh, well, I saw you today. How was that workout?
Oh, it was awesome. I got killed.
Yeah.
I forget how hard those workouts are, but how much I need them.
Yeah.
I get caught up in I'm going to do these four exercises, two or three warm up sets, one hard set, one back off set, next movement, same shit, right? And I'll
Yeah.
get strong at those, but your style's a whole other level. The speed, the supersets, the drop sets,
Yeah.
and I get so pumped, and I have no joint pain from it. It's like all positive and no negative. The only negative is that I get my ass kicked in the workouts.
Yeah. Yeah. That was great. And you don't have to lift as heavy. You're still strong as hell,
Yep.
but you don't have to go crazy heavy.
Yeah,
Um,
a lot of what I was doing was just sort of saying, okay, I'm gonna like, I don't use a logbook, but it was kind of like logbook training of, all right, last week I did 315 on the shoulder press for 8 reps. I'm gonna get 10 this week, little mental notes of trying to progress in strength. But then you're like, all right, let me take an extra couple of minutes and prepare it, and next thing you know, it's 5 minutes rest between sets.
yeah. Yeah. So speaking of training, I think we should dive into some of the shit we've been seeing online of these like wannabe trainers that saying they're the best. I'm the best trainer. I know these people. They're like have very, very little experience training themselves, let alone training other people.
And this is
Um,
probably, obviously you might be referencing something local to us, but this is wherever you are in the country, in the world. It's a lot of I just did my first show. Now I'm an expert. I'm an online coach. I'm an in-person coach. I'm a prep coach, right? This like
yeah,
I did this little sliver of the pie. I did a show, therefore I know how to do shows and put you through it. There's such a difference from what your coach had you do to understanding how the big picture works of this stuff as someone of your level.
and why?
Yeah.
That's a good one. I did a show, so now I know.
Yeah.
But
No, it's
yeah,
right. That's everybody. That's
yeah,
that's half the people who were doing their first show will come out of it being a prep coach.
yeah. That's the first thing they do. Put it on their Instagram bio. I'm a coach. I'm this. I'm that. But something good for listeners to know is that to one, do your investigations. Like look around, ask about the a trainer or a coach that you're gonna hire. What is their experience level? How long have they been doing it? If they've only been doing it even a couple of years, they have very little experience. Honestly, you need time and time and time again to see what works for people and to see what doesn't work for people. And some of the don't be sucked in by the we're hardcore. We're just fucking this, fucking that. That's all nonsense. They have to know what it is they're doing, and they have to know how to do it safely. But teetering on that line of extreme progress and being safe. Just a lot of it is just nonsense, and I figured
Well,
we would
there's a
talk
fine
about it.
line, as somebody who's trained with you now for 5 years consistently, of somebody can go through your workout and say, wow, that was intense. I was moving nonstop. We supersetted two things and then a drop set, and Jose was right on me. Anytime I gave up and I wanted to stop, he had me keep going, and we did 10 more reps and then drop the weight, and right. And it's easy to look at that and be like, cool, I'm going to do that with my clients now because that's intensity,
Yeah.
and just yell at people and go, 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 and lift the weight up for them, right? And there's a big difference between like how we trained even today in today's shoulder workout when you hit failure, but I'm able to hit failure and know, okay, on a shoulder press, we're just doing partials. We're just doing that, right? And
Yeah.
everything's still in the right position.
Yeah.
you can't be a new trainer training a new person and doing, all right, we're going to do these 3 exercises in a row and drop sets, and that person's going to hurt themselves,
Yeah.
all in the name of like, I'm the most intense hardcore trainer, right? Like it
Yeah.
gets lost in translation of going through a workout with you, where the other thing is your style, which I appreciate, is you may not say a lot. Like you're not one of these trainers that's like, all right, so in here we want an anterior pelvic tilt, and we want your scapula retracted, and it's like none of that
Yeah.
shit, right?
Yeah.
You just physically move people and you poke and you're like, right here, make this squeeze, right?
Yeah.
And so it kind of it uh it dumbs it down in a sense of, right, you don't have to explain anything. You're just like, right here where I'm poking, that's where you're going to squeeze, right?
Yeah.
And but what gets lost in translation is how much you know, and you're simplifying it for the sake of the client,
Right.
right? Of how do I get them to do this as quickly as possible? There's no need for this explanation. I'm just going to poke and prod, but you could give an explanation if you needed to, right?
Oh, 100%.
And these are the trainers that couldn't,
Right.
and take what you do, and I'm just going to replicate Jose's workout with my clients, and they don't actually know what's going on, what position the body should be in, the posture, all that stuff, and people
Yeah.
get hurt.
That's exactly why. I don't need to explain, as you said, retract your scapula, use your teres and I'm just getting you in the right position to do it the right way. If you want to learn the terminology, go study anatomy and physiology. You don't need to hire me. If you want to train the right way and safely, then that's precisely what we're doing here. I laugh my ass off with the overuse of technical terms to sound fancy. But yeah, so the bottom line is do your research before you just jump in, because there's some injuries that can occur, and certainly don't just listen to people that are telling you to take all this, take that, take this. You should be learning your body, learning the basics about nutrition and how to move forward. There's just so much nonsense going on.
Well, there's a progression of when you start with somebody, of getting them to understand the movements, the mind muscle connection. Here we're working our back, you should feel it right here. And you can't do that like, sort of the trainers we're talking about is everything's a giant set. Day one, on the first time meeting with a trainer, we're going to run you into the ground. You know what this reminds me of? My very first job out of college was with Bally Total Fitness, and that was a sales machine. Right?
Yeah.
Everything that they did had been run through top consultants and focus groups, and they had 400 gyms when I was part of them. And what I was taught my first week on the job, we had all this in-house training every day, was the way we sign up clients. Like they just gave us a shirt and we had to prospect the floor all day. Just walk up, talk to people, find people who are doing things wrong, offer to help them, and book the consult. My job was to get like anywhere from 6 to 10 appointments a day for future days or on the spot, right? What are you doing right now? Let's just sales. And the Bally method back then was 7 exercises in 7 minutes and run them into the ground and show them how out of shape they are, right? That was sort of the of, if you can show them how out of shape they are, they need you. It's like, well, and it was sort of the like, here's your problem, I have the solution, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it was dumb shit. It was like, push-ups to failure, into squats to failure, now burpees, like just running them into the ground and then saying like, look, see how out of shape you are. This is why you need me. I can fix all this, right?
Yeah.
And that was what they had us all do. That was their system. And that's kind of what I'm seeing with the local trainers, right? Run them into the ground, scream at them, show them how out of shape they are.
Yeah.
And there's no method. Like this Bally's thing was bullshit, right? It was just, have them do nonsense to exhaust them.
Yeah.
And it proves your point of like, you're out of shape. Look at what a great trainer I am, that I killed you in 7 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And so now pay me. And that's kind of what we're seeing with this run people into the ground with nonsense stuff, where you don't know what you're doing. it's a sales tactic, right? And there's a big difference between having a sales system to collect money from a lot of people versus being a knowledgeable trainer who will help people not hurt them and produce transformations.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never advertised in my life. I'm actually going to, as I said before, I'm starting. It should be up in the next week. This little 12-week transformation campaign we're doing here. So I'll be interested to see how that works out. But
both you and I are joining this the digital age of marketing, right? We've been doing with Gym Hub the videos, and we had a local guy make 4 videos for us last week. Got him coming by again this Saturday. So we're within the Gym Hub thing. I'm finally saying, look, I'm not going to do this shit. I'm not going to walk around with my iPhone and come up with content. Let me hire somebody. That's what they do. Feature different people from the gym. So I've got a couple girls who are going to show up Saturday at the same time we're training, and show a wide range of people that are training here, but the actual people, and focus on these people that are training hard, that know how to train. Give them a little hype video. When people go to the Gym Hub Instagram page, they'll get a sense for the equipment, the people that are here, can follow those people on their journey. So same thing on my end. I'm figuring this stuff out as well. Because I knew I wasn't going to do it, certainly to this caliber. But so far, so good. And I know if I'm sitting on 6 videos that I'm like, all right, I'll post a video every other day, I can do that. But if I'm sitting around, have no material, I know I'm not going to do it. I know myself. I'm not going to post every day from the Gym Hub account without having anything great to post.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have so many other balls in the air.
Yeah.
That's just one less thing you need to worry about hiring someone, But that's great. Yeah. The last video, the last couple of videos that guy did are phenomenal.
Yeah.
Should be very helpful.
I've got 2 more that I have to drop, and that'll get me to end of this week, beginning of next week, and we'll record some more this weekend. And I've gotten a lot of compliments too from people who know film, who message me and are like, look, I don't know if you understand what this guy's doing in these videos, but he's really good. Like, the camera's good. He's like, the editing and the guy was naming off all of the techniques the guy was using. He's like, you don't see bodybuilding Instagram videos that are doing all of this. So I feel fortunate we found a good guy. That's half the challenge, when you don't know, you have money that you want to throw at somebody to do things, but most of the work I'm seeing, people who are coming to the gym and making their own little Instagram stuff, was like, I could probably do that if I took an hour,
Right.
And then when I saw this guy who's doing our content, I'm like, there's no way I could do this.
No, nobody can. He makes like little movies.
It's their movies. Yeah. They're so cinematic. So I'm excited. It's cool for me. Like, I'm going to keep doing a video for me every couple of weeks to document the prep that I'm in for my first pro show, and then also highlight the people that are in the gym, which is really cool for them too. Everyone that's been a part of it is been thrilled with the work. It's not often you get this really high quality edited hype video that you can post.
All right. Well, let's dive into your prep a little bit. That is how many weeks out?
It'll be 16 this weekend, I believe.
Perfect.
Yeah.
16 weeks to what show?
New York Pro.
And who won that twice?
Guy Cisternino.
Good job. Guy is the only other one I know. It doesn't make me feel too good now.
I know.
I won it in 2011, beating a guy named Flex Lewis, and then I won it in 2013, beating a 5-time world champion Samuel Haddad. So those are 2 feathers in my cap there. Sure. But no, Guy's awesome. I talked to him on the phone for like an hour yesterday. He's helped me out with something.
Awesome.
But that is the 3rd largest show in the world. Or I should say 3rd most prestigious show in the world. And it's always jam-packed with talent, in every division. So that's going to be exciting, and kudos to you for jumping in, right into the deep end, because there's no other way to do it. Like, a pro show is a pro show, but New York is really the closest option for us. And if you want to compete, you want to compete against the best. So there will be some legitimate, head smashes there at that show. And hey, listen, what was it, two years ago? Justin Randall was top 5 at that show.
Yeah, I actually looked that up last night. Of his first show, he was 11th.
Yeah.
Next year, he was 7th, I believe, and then the year after, 5th, which
Yeah.
is incredible.
Yeah.
And certainly it's something I look up to and aspire to be. To make top 5 at New York Pro is insane.
Yeah.
I literally last night I was looking that up. It's cool for me too, because I know Justin. A lot of these other guys, we don't even know who's jumping into it, but we know there's going to be awesome physiques, great guys. But it seems more achievable, right? Like, of saying, okay, if Justin can do this, I can do it, because he's just a little bit ahead of me, right? It's a little bit different for me to look at you and say, well, if Jose can do it, it's like, well, look at your career, But Justin's a little bit ahead of me, have turned pro a little bit before me.
Yeah.
Competed for a few years as a pro, but was still kind of a new pro, and saying, look, if he can go 11-7-5, there's no reason I can't do that.
Yeah. No, well, that's the only attitude to have.
Yeah.
And you have a lot going for you as far as, Justin's not the biggest guy, but he got in shape and he was, very complete and balanced. And that's what it takes. Because, if 10 guys show up, there's really only going to be 3 that are peeled.
Yeah.
If that. So if you come in peeled the way I know you can, then right there you're already in the talk. If you can have a little more muscle than the last time, which I know you clearly do. So this is going to be fun, and we'll document it, and we'll put everything up, and we'll get some posing sessions in, some, a lot of the training, as we're filming one this Saturday. So maybe we'll post one on here as well. We can
Sure.
post it on. We'll see if he can do like a 20-minute one or 15-minute one,
Sure. Yep.
and then we'll post it up so people can see you, because you're already looking freaky. It's a quick transformation in the last 30 days.
Yeah. Well, in 16 weeks after having gone through however many preps I've gone through with you, is an eternity for my body to change,
Right.
and especially because I haven't been training at the pace, getting back with you now and doing these sessions is like, oh, what, like, my body's going to look drastically different because I haven't been doing this.
Yeah.
So it's a brand new stimulus. I'm excited because, it's the training's different, which is exciting. And I've been doing this past year since opening up the gym. I've just kind of been doing my own thing. Like I said, like getting strong. I'm stronger than I've ever been on every exercise. But I've taken that as far as I can for this time period. And I think switching to what I used to do with you is going to make everything rounder and way more detail and my body come alive.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for you, buddy. We don't know who's going to be there yet, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Um,
it's funny. We had talked about this. It was like, it was over the last year, it was something I've asked you. I asked Jay Cutler. I asked friends of mine that have nothing to do with bodybuilding, that are sports guys or finance guys, and was like, hey, if you're me, do you do the New York Pro, which is the hardest show I can enter, right? Because I can't enter the Arnold, can't enter the Olympia. So it's the hardest show I can enter, with the best competition, probably the deepest lineup too, because this show just gets everybody on the East Coast. There might be 5 or 6 guys that you're like, what is this guy doing up there? But it gets a good volume of people. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if there's 20 guys in the 212 class,
right. Yeah.
or do you find this show's this one off the beaten path is probably not going to have the biggest turnout. Maybe there's 7-8 guys and I have a good shot of making the top 5. which would be a feather in my cap to say, hey, I made top 5. It's Greg Doucette's thing, right? That was his whole goal as a pro, was to someday make the top 5. And he did it, I think, his last show. And I always went back and forth, and I would talk to people, and overwhelmingly, everybody said, do the New York Pro.
Yeah.
And everyone had different reasons, right? Jay had said, look, you're an East Coast guy. You're in Steve's area. This is what we do. Like Steve puts on these shows. When you get that pro card, you do Steve's show, and it's the biggest show you can do, and it's an honor to be able to do it, and all those reasons.
Yeah.
And another guy I talked to, who's a billionaire in the finance world, a hedge fund guy, played basketball, knows nothing about bodybuilding. And I said, hey, there's this or this. And I said, what would you take, if you're me? And he's like, absolutely the hardest show. He's like, because that prep, he knew why I did these things. I don't do these things to stand on stage in trunks. I do these things because the process and the prep, I love that part, of everything firing, and the transformation, and my life is better during that time. The show is just whatever,
Yeah.
And so he was like, with you setting the bar higher by doing the New York Pro versus some smaller show, flying to Japan for the Japan Pro or something, right? He's like, you're going to get more out of it because you know what you're up against. You're up against giants, and you have to get that much more out of yourself in that prep versus train how you train and find the show with fewer guys, or none of the American guys are going to go over to the Japan Pro. So there's less competition of the big names.
Right.
So everyone overwhelmingly said New York. So that's the answer.
It forces you to level up.
Yeah.
And your friends and family and everyone can make it down to support you. It's only a few hour ride. It'll be awesome.
That's really too, I'm 41. Maybe I compete for a couple, to your point that you were saying New Year's Eve, there is no tomorrow, right? I have to look at this, the old Rocky quote, as I don't know that I'm competing 5 years from now, things that can be out of my hands,
Right.
And so hypothetically, this could be the one pro show that I do,
Yeah.
And so why not go with the thing that is going to be memories that are going to last forever, of my friends and family being at the show, of being on stage with the best guys in the world, getting those photos, being backstage with them. Like, that's the winner for that reason alone.
Yeah. I'm fired up already just thinking about it. It's going to be fun. But speaking of that, whatever you did, put that background on, that's not actually my wallpaper. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, you're why do we just have a blown up version of your crotch here? What are you trying to
I didn't do that. You did that. Why can't you see the fella in the suit? Can you see his face?
No. It's from the neck down.
Yeah, it was either see me or him.
Well, you'd be able to see you, but you wouldn't see your crotch, and that's clearly what you wanted to show.
That was the most important part. So the Arnold is very exciting. We actually filmed a podcast less than a week ago.
Last week, yeah.
And it was shit. The audio for some reason was terrible. Yeah. I didn't download the latest upgrade or whatever. What is that called? The latest
software update.
Update, yeah. So that must have been it. It's fine now, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So we did record one. We trashed it, threw it away. We did talk a little bit about the Arnold, but since then, the news of Andrew Jack working with Chris Aceto, that came out, which is huge. Chris already sent me pictures last night. And he looks pretty much where he was at the Olympia or Texas or the Arnold in England. He looks pretty much there. I think he's in the low 290s. He looks dynamite. He's holding a little bit of water, but in 6 weeks, I know what Chris can do. And with a physique like that, I'm very excited to see Andrew under just a different type of prep, He was basically doing the same old thing, and there were no changes from show to show to show. And with Chris will take the chance of bringing him in flatter, skinny, small, whatever, just to bring him in shape. And in my mind, now I'm not saying that's what he's going to do, but in my mind, that would be the thing to do because we've already seen him, and we want to see a little something different, a little sharper, a little, I don't think he's going to look skinny if he's more detailed. I think if anything, he might look bigger because the cuts are deeper, the separation is deeper, and it might bring his physique alive even more. So that's going to be really, really interesting. Obviously, Rami is in there now, which I think was a great idea. What do you think of that, Nate?
I think, yeah, he has nothing. I mean, people will say he has something to lose in that, if he places third, fourth, fifth, they're moving him along. But I think he has nothing to lose in that. Well, I do think there's probably nerve damage within the back, within the triceps. I think they also screwed up peaking him, and they can fix that. Chad was off with both Rami and Bonac, and I think he can fix that for both of them. And what does a perfectly peaked Rami look like? Even if his triceps are, a little smaller, the lats are a little smaller, he can still do a lot of damage.
Yeah,
especially if anybody's off. I'm still not picking him to win, but man, from the podcast we did a couple weeks ago where there was now 6 guys in it. Now it's really
10.
interesting. There's really, especially with the little switches, right? Rami being in, if Andrew Jack was doing the same old, we would say he's going to look exactly like the Olympia.
Yeah,
it's not enough to win. He'll be certainly in the top 5, but that's a huge variable now working with Aceto, because if his condition improves 10% and it's noticeable, the glutes are a little harder, the hamstrings a little harder, more back detail.
Yeah.
You have to reward him.
So Andrew also has Chris Lewis training him. I think he's living with him. So he's going to be with him every day. And that has got to make a big difference,
Sure.
having him on him every day.
So previously, he was in Dubai, and then I think for the Olympia, right, he was training out of Flex's gym for some period of time, whether it was 4 weeks or something. Do we know anything about his training before? Like, did he have regular training partners? Was he on his own? Like,
I don't think so. I think, maybe when he was in Dubai, he was training with what's his name? Larry Wheels. He may have trained a couple times with Sergio, but by the time Sergio got out there, he was in Vegas. So, I don't think he had anything regular. Certainly nobody that was, pushing him like Chris is going to be pushing him.
Right.
So I think we're going to see a very different Andrew, even though it's only 6 or 7 weeks they had to work.
Right.
I think we're going to see a much harder, drier looking Andrew. And I'm very excited to see that. The triple towers up there with Samson, Andrew, and Rami.
Yeah.
Right next to each other. That's going to look crazy. Whose physique would you pick? Well, let's say between Andrew and Samson.
Obviously the variable is what do they show? We have to guess on the improvements, right?
Yeah.
Is Samson will probably be a little tight. Samson's improved every show. And from what I've heard, he's maintaining his Olympia look now. Mm-hmm. He didn't go up in weight, so he'll be tight. I don't expect a drastic change. I don't think he'll walk out and we'll all say, holy shit. I think it'll be, he's better. The question is, does Andrew come out and is it a holy shit moment? Right.
Right.
And it could, with exactly what you said, for those reasons of Chris Lewis and Chris Aceto, those are 2 huge variables.
Right.
I know it's only 6 weeks, but if you're getting your ass kicked with the way that Chris trains, with the holds and the squeezes and the drop sets and supersets, and you're being pushed more than you've ever been pushed, and you have got Aceto really stripping you down. I think that can be a holy shit moment for him.
I do too.
Like on paper, Samson wins, because what you had, no, it was just actually one space, right? They were 6th and 7th, right?
No, I think Hunter was 7th.
Hunter was 7th, so 8th, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
But you could flip flop.
Yeah, so they weren't that far off there. Man, if I had to bet now, I would probably bet on Andrew Jacked, right? Because they're essentially a spot or two off, interchangeable there. And I think Andrew has more upside because there's drastic changes being done versus Samson is just doing the same. And obviously they're going to hope to bring him in leaner. That the tough part is Milos is obviously a very bright person.
Yeah.
And he knows the criticism from past shows is, man, if Samson could just come in peeled. So it's not like he didn't know that. I just don't know how much more he's going to be able to do, because certainly he wanted him peeled for the Olympia. It's not like that wasn't the goal.
Yeah, no, and I will say that was his all-time best by far. And he was enormous. I mean, I want to say he put on 30 or 40 pounds from his last show. So if they can be, 10% tighter, then he might just smoke everyone.
Yeah.
If they come in and say, oh, well, he doesn't really need to be better, and he's the same, it's really hard. I don't know that I saw Samson and Andrew stand next to each other at the Olympia. I don't recall that.
They didn't stand next to each other, but Samson was in first call out, and then they had him stick around for second call out, and then they moved him back to first call out.
Okay.
But I don't remember, my eyes weren't comparing those two guys when that was going on, right? It's sort of like we've already seen Samson. Yeah. So I wasn't really looking at him. I was looking at the guys we hadn't seen yet, of Hunter, of Andrew. So right. They were in a call out together when they moved Andrew to that call out to see, does he deserve to be 6, or does someone take that spot from him?
Right.
Maybe we can go back and see the picks, but what are you thinking? If you had to throw money down right now, do you pick Samson or Andrew to come out ahead between those two?
They're very similar. Samson is a little thicker through the pecs and shoulders and quads, even though Andrew has great quads. But I think if Andrew is as dry as I think he can be, his shape can trump everything, and he has a better back.
Yeah.
Now, some might argue that. Some might say Samson's thicker, but Andrew has those low lats that attach low, and they're crazy, especially his front lat spread. So I would give the front lat spread and possibly the front double to Andrew.
Yep.
The side chest I'd probably give to Samson.
Yeah, he's thicker.
Maybe even the side tricep. But from behind, I would give to Andrew. Even though he doesn't have the crazy glutes and hams, just the shape alone. Let's say they're in the exact same condition, lights out. I think Andrew wins because he's got lower lats and more complete back. But sure, it'll be interesting. I think maybe he has a better midsection. I mean, he pulls a vacuum. He's got a tight waist, a crazy taper. But I think where he loses is that back. So if their condition is equal, I think Andrew has a shot of beating him. And if he does, that means he's in the hunt. Which theoretically all these guys are in the hunt.
Yeah.
Even Akeem Williams, if he's 100%, he can beat everyone.
Yep.
It's
tough because Akeem's one of those guys where he had an Arnold where he made the top 5.
Yeah.
where it was one of his best packages, and then
I think he was top 5 at the Olympia one year too.
oh right, top 5 or
Yeah.
top 6. Yep. But we just haven't seen that in a while. Unfortunately, he's one of these guys that you've seen him miss the mark a little bit more than you've seen him nail it.
Yeah.
Versus like, Clarita's always nailed it. Nick Walker's always nailed it. Kamal's always nailed it. So those guys, they're going to be spot on. Bonak's one of those that it's hit or miss, and if he nails it, he can win. That's the cool part is Bonac can win, Clarita can win, Nick can win, Rami can win, Samson can win, Andrew can win. That's it, I would say.
Rami.
Did I say Rami?
Yeah.
No, Rami. So that's 7 guguys.
Yeah,
7
literally.
guys who legitimately can win this show.
Yeah, I think Bonak's problem, I don't think he's missed his condition ever. He's always in shape. It's just a matter of, is he full enough? And this past Olympia, he wasn't full enough. And then I think last year's Olympia, he wasn't full enough. And then at the Arnold, he was crazy. And then at the Boston Pro, he was incredible.
Yep.
I think that Boston Pro version of Bonac could win this show.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it so exciting. As you said, there are 7 guys legitimately that can win this show. So that's huge.
So what's your let's give us your current update with all of these things. Are you still picking Clarita 1, Bonac 2?
I am, just for my own my favorite. No, I'm gonna say Clarita, Nick, Andrew, Samson. That's 4. Who else is there? Bonac.
Rami.
Oh God. It's too hard.
I know, right? And it doesn't matter. Like this was the Olympia, right? Every single show that did predictions, people were like, "Oh God, this is so hard," and nobody got it right.
I think if you went by photos, pose by pose, Clarita would win.
Yeah.
If you didn't know how tall or how much they weighed, just go by photos, Clarita would win. But I think, just because the overwhelming, I mean, literally, Andrew and Samson are a foot taller than him.
Yeah.
So if them being next to him, and then Rami's 10 inches taller than him, and it's going to be hard. They'll say that they overwhelmed them with size.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, if they're not 100%, anyone who's not 100%, Sean's going to beat him.
Yeah.
Because he's that good. I wouldn't count on Walker being not 100%. So that's why I think Nick is going to be right in there to possibly win, or most likely win. I think him and Sean are my 2 favorites, only because they're the most consistent.
Yeah.
I can't tell you exactly how those other guys are going to come in. I can tell you Nick and Sean are going to be balls on. Their best.
Yep.
Right.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's interesting.
And Kamal too, right? Obviously, Kamal's it's tough. I think why there's wind behind the sails of Sean is not only is he the 212 Mr. Olympia, but he won a pro show. And he beat a couple great pros. Where I think Kamal gets overlooked is 1, Sean beat him, at 2 Olympias now, or 3, I guess, if you count last year. And Kamal did a pro show, looked incredible, right? It was probably 218, 220 on stage, looked maybe his all-time best.
Yeah.
But what did he place, like 4th?
Who? Kamal? Oh, at where? What show?
He did an open show. I forget what was.
So he placed 2nd to Akeem in Tampa.
Okay.
And then he placed 4th in Texas.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. It was Andrew. What's the kid's name? Fitzgerald.
Martin Fitzwater or something like that.
Fitzwater, yeah. And then Kuklo, and then Kamal.
Yeah, it's tough. Well, Martin's a shorter guy,
Yeah,
but yeah, with Kuklo and Andrew, you just get overwhelmed with the size.
right. Yeah, Martin's probably an inch or two taller than Kamal, probably 5'7" or something.
Yeah,
But he's so thick,
yeah,
and he had crazy condition.
yeah,
He's another one to watch this year. I'm excited to see that.
yeah,
Him and Justin Shear going against each other.
yeah. I wonder when. Did you know when you're on the podcast with those guys? Do you know when Justin's competing?
I don't.
Okay.
I would assume probably New York, to be honest. I
Yeah,
would think.
it's going to be. I mean, we're at this weekend at 16 weeks out. It'll be interesting to see who announces it. Versus mentions they're doing it 3 weeks out. Or people start noticing how peeled they are. They're on podcasts and their face is sunken in and start asking questions because
Yeah.
I don't know one person within Open or 212 that's openly committed to New York Pro yet.
Yeah, I don't either. But it'll be exciting. We'll see. What else did we have on the docket? I think I watched a Nick Trigili video talking about how Derek Lunsford is not going to be guest posing. He's only guest posing at the Pittsburgh Pro, and then that's it. He's not going to guest pose. I mean, the world wants to see this guy. I don't know how many opportunities there are to guest pose nowadays, but
Or
you
what
know,
the money looks like from when there is an opportunity.
right. So that's interesting to me that he's not going to be guest posing and he's foregoing this show. And you know, he is young. He's got plenty of time to win the Arnold. To make more money. But man, I've always been under the assumption, and I was a lot older than Derek when I turned pro and was competing as a pro, where time was very limited when I was competing. For him, he's got many, many years. So good for him for having the balls to do that and sticking to his guns.
So do you think, until they raised the prize money week or so ago, Nick was going to sit out all year, right? Nick had said, I'm not doing the Arnold. I'll just do the Olympia. Rami was going to sit out all year. And, they jumped in last minute. Do you think the change is because of this world of social media where that's now where everybody makes their money? Unless you're the top guys, you're not getting much of a payout from actual bodybuilding shows, checks from promoters. Do you think that contributes to guys sitting out or not do, like, talking about Lunsford not going around and posing, where he's like, why should I can make YouTube videos and get a check from my sponsor and sit at home and just film content at a gym 15 minutes from my house, and all of the money is from that, right? And you get a much wider audience. You might get 100,000 people seeing your YouTube video versus the 800 people that might be at that bodybuilding show, if that number,
all right.
400 people that would be at that show to guest pose. Do you think that has something to do with it?
I'm sure it does, especially because back in the day, every top name had a legitimate sponsor. Yeah. They all had, supplement contracts, and in their contracts, it said you have to do X, Y, and Z, which was you have to compete. You have to do a minimum of 3 shows a year. And now so few people are actually sponsored. And if they are, these companies are realizing just what you said, that their social media will get more views than the actual competition itself.
Yeah.
So
now it's, you must make 3 posts a week, rather than do 3 shows a year.
Right. So I don't get it. You're a pro to compete, and you only have so much time to be able to do this. And that's your job, is to compete and try to win and build your fan base.
I don't know if I've told this story, but there's a conversation I was lucky enough to overhear the week of the Boston Pro, when all of the pros were in my gym, Urs and Jay were having a private conversation. And
So why don't you share that with everyone?
yeah, Nick Trigili over here.
Yeah.
And Urs was asking Jay just for advice on business and bodybuilding. And so Jay complimented him on his career, on obviously Urs is a superstar within bodybuilding, around the world, not just in the US, but certainly in Germany. And Jay really drove home the own your shit, have your own YouTube channel, have your audience. Don't do things for everyone else. You can do that, but make your own content. But the point that he drove home is he's like, but don't get too comfortable just sitting at home and putting out YouTube videos, going to the gym, putting out YouTube videos. You need to get out there and interact with your fans and do guest posings, go to supplement stores. And he's like, even though you can put out a video and get 200,000 people to watch it, going to that supplement store and shaking hands and taking pictures with 200 people, those will be fans for life. Right. And those will be people that will spend their money to buy your shirts, to buy the supplements that you're affiliated with, or maybe someday your own line like Jay. Yeah. And you're probably a really good person to speak on this because you were from that era where you were sent around for guest posing to supplement stores, for meet and greets. Yeah. And, it was apparent from seeing your last Olympia of your booth at the Meet the Olympians, yeah, versus what I saw this year. Certainly the Bumstead, Aram, all these guys had lines, but the rest of the guys who live their life just through a YouTube channel didn't have crowds, and nor did they know how to interact with the crowds when they had people there. They were sitting behind the desk, looking like they didn't want to be there, eating their meal. Yeah. If someone came up, it was like, oh, hey, nice to meet you, shake their hand. All right, see you later.
That's rule number one. You don't stay behind the table. Yep. And a lot of these guys were just sitting there, like you said. You have to be out in front of the table, greeting the people and interacting with them. And that's how the people actually get to meet you. I would be there from 5 to 10 with a tank top on, posing, hitting shots and drawing attention over there and making people happy. And it's, I know you're tired and you're going to compete the next day, but you got to get out there. You're right. That is the most effective way to build your fan base, is to actually be there and interact. I was somewhere in between where the majority of my career there was no such thing as social media. And then towards the end, it started really kicking up to an annoying degree where I had people emailing me every day, like, you got to post this, post that. And I'm like, if it's not authentic, if I don't really use that supplement, I don't want to post it. But yeah, anyway, that is huge. And Urs is good at that because as you saw when he was in the gym, one of the nicest kids around. And then at the Olympia, when we walked by his booth, he had a huge line and he's like, come here. Yeah. I'm like, no, I don't want to cut the line.
He was so genuine. He's like, it's my friends from Boston, Yeah. That's such a tool. Jay right now is the blueprint of how to do it, because he's killing it online with his YouTube channel, with the partnerships he has with brands like Young LA, his own, he's doing videos with Jesse James West that I wouldn't even know who this kid is, the fitness influence, right? If it wasn't on my world for Jay. But it's obviously very,
I still don't know. Who is he?
it's the kid's like 22, 23, has your typical average gym physique, doesn't look like anything, is kind of a class clown in all of his videos. And he did a video Jay put up. It was Jay, Ronnie, and him in a gym.
Oh, that kid.
They're all wearing the red flannel cutoffs, and he was just cracking jokes the whole time. Part of it annoyed me. That's what his audience wants, is bringing
silly.
It's making things silly, and I get that. But there was a part of me that's like, do you realize who you have the privilege of lifting with? You are training with Jay and Ronnie right now.
Right.
stop making stupid jokes and trying to be the class clown, like, but that's what he was there for. That's his shtick.
Yeah. Hey, good for him. Listen, I think it's awesome that everyone has the same opportunity to make money, to make a living, to, even those people that we were talking about earlier, the trainers, this is a free market society. They can, good for them. I don't want to see anyone do poorly, but um when you claim you're the best at something, you have to prove you're the best.
Yeah.
And like someone like Nick Walker, he's proven it.
Yeah.
He talks the talk and then he walks.
Yep.
He backs up everything he's done. I love to see that. Yeah, that's the world we live in now, though. Anyone can say
You're adapting, right? Like, I've known you from that period of 2018 when, you were competing and you were dealing with sponsors wanting you to post and take pictures holding a pre-workout or something that you didn't even use.
Yeah.
But you're finding your own way, right? If it means being on Fuad's podcast where you get to be yourself and now you have an audience that is getting to know that side of you that we all know in person, that's a win.
Yeah.
You're doing it in your own way, and you're now finding your lane in this digital social media space, still being authentic and being yourself, and now you have an audience that loves that.
Well, I do pretty much any podcast. You've seen some of them I've done that have 8 views, because it's a way. Even if I reach 1 or 2 extra people, that's 2 people that didn't know me in the past. That's why I do them all.
Yeah,
and I get to share my story and share a lot of knowledge and experience in this industry.
The only thing you won't do is Jeff Sue's Instagram Live.
No, not until he gives me the money. He's gonna pay me a couple grand up front. He keeps wanting to do some Instagram Live. I'm like, you realize I'm just gonna make fun of you for an hour. He's funny. Yeah, I want to see what he wants to do. What does he want to actually talk about?
Right.
It's funny. Jeff's kind of a new age guy, taking advantage of the social media. He doesn't have a huge following, but
he's monetized the following that he's had. You cannot knock that kid's business skills and marketing skills, and there's people that have a way bigger following that haven't monetized it at all, and he's done very well in that.
Right. Well, hopefully he's going to get back and get his ass kicked again this weekend. He was away on some, I don't know, PCOS campaign or something. I don't know.
That's this coming weekend.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, he's Thursday through Saturday or Sunday. That's this week.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So next week I'll
some
see.
Coaching seminar for coaches or something. That's a whole new world as well. That's another topic for another day of and they obviously, these coaches, guys like Jeff Meanwell, like they're actually trying to put knowledge out and help people, because it starts off to how we started this podcast of everybody's a trainer, everybody's a coach, everybody's a prep coach just because you say you are and you put it in your Instagram bio. So props to people trying to actually bring proper education, because there's an audience there, and there are people who say, I would like to do this, but like if you want to be a trainer, for the last 30 years, there's been NASM and ACE and all of these certifications that I had to get when I started out.
Yeah.
Now no one wants to be a trainer, everyone wants to be an online coach. And these certifications actually the money for them now is to, NASM should be putting together a course of how to be an online coach, right? Like that's the low-hanging fruit for them. I don't know why they haven't done that, and they can charge $1,000 and you're NASM certified as an online coach. And but because that's not there, you've got guys like Jeff that have been able to step in and say, look at how much I've made. I can teach you how to do that. And I have systems, and these systems, I give Jeff all the props in the world of actually doing what he's teaching people, right? Like most of the stuff we see on our Instagram feed of, do you want to make $10,000 a month as an online coach? I don't think those guys have actually done it. right? They're trying to find suckers to buy into it. So
Right.
guys like Jeff, and there's a bunch of others out there that have lived it, have done it, have built a business out through systems and are teaching what they've done. You and I might not agree with all of the systems all these various coaches have, if it's a John Jewett or what. I think in our world, sometimes it overcomplicates it, and you have to put a name and a system to everything, to how you and I view it. But you also need to teach this stuff. And, I guess when you're teaching things, you got to label it and give it a name, and package it with a bow on it, so you can sell it. So I understand the reasoning behind that. But, there's a lot of people who want to be coaches who go to a seminar for a weekend and they're like, now I got it. Now I'm a world-class coach.
Yeah. Now I'm Chris Aceto.
Yeah, exactly.
So before we go, I wanted to plug the Senapani Circles on Telegram.
Yes.
For those who watch this and haven't downloaded Telegram and joined the Senapani Circles, it is the best view into your favorite pros' lives, or ex-pros or retired pros. There's some current pros doing everyday things, answering questions, talking about topics, everything from bodybuilding to life to cars and houses and whatever it is they do on a daily basis. You'll see Jay Cutler, Flex Lewis, Evan Senapani, Guy Sistanino, Milo Sarchev, James Hollingshead, Juji Mufu, Frank McGrath, myself, Chris Bumstead, not Chris Bumstead, Chris Tuttle.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, Bumstead's not on there. We would have 1.10 million followers there, which would be 2 million, right? But that's it. Yeah, you got to download Telegram. You can interact, ask questions. It's really cool. I hope I didn't miss anyone that was on there. Did I miss anyone?
You got them all. Yeah. No, and I'll say, I'm on it.
Antoine Valiant.
Antoine, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it really is access. I've been fortunate through you to meet a lot of these guys and hang out with them, and this is them, which you never get to see, right? Even if these guys are putting out YouTube videos, guys like Evan, it's a very planned, I'm gonna show you how I cook this meal, I'm gonna show you how I do this workout in my house. You don't get to see this other side of Evan that I've gotten to see in person thanks to you. Yeah. And in the circles, you see all that. And the best part for me is just the joking around and the ribbing and everybody kind of, getting on each other. But there's really good info in there as well. Someone starts a topic of, do you need to squat to build big legs?
Yeah.
And you've got 10 of the best to ever do it, all giving their opinion.
Right. And speaking of joking around, I forgot Lee Priest.
Oh, yeah.
Lee probably posts more than anyone. So.
Yeah.
And he's got opinions. So if you want some controversial yet usually spot on opinions, check it out. Check out Lee Priest will be on there. He doesn't sleep very much, so he's on there more than anyone. They've had to tell him, chill out with all the posts.
Relax a little bit. He posts every 10 minutes.
Yeah, but he's awesome. So please join. Check it out. You'll love it. It's hard to get people, because people don't want to download any more apps,
I know.
But this one's worth it. If you want to learn, ask any questions, Chris Tuttle is one of the smartest minds in bodybuilding. And so is Milos, who just joined on there. And
oh, sweet.
And yeah, so there's a lot of information to be shared on there. Definitely don't hesitate to join. So that's about it. Until next time, Nate.
All right. Sounds good, Jose.
Okay, buddy.
All right. See you.
Tomorrow.
Bye.